Hello and welcome to Gears Overdrive. This is part 3 of the article, Your Greatest Challenge, the Essential Steps for Project Completion. Now, this is my favorite part because it involves math and I really like Excel. So I want to share some things with you on how you can use the standard deviation, which is what I talked about in the article, with data that you've collected. Now, let me share my screen. Here we go. Okay, now you'll see these two figures. This is a collection of data that I've put into a histogram. And you'll see these red arrows here pointing to these two lines. This is, and don't be too confused with this, it's really, really simple. I'm going to take it slow. These spaces here are a standard deviation. So here you have 1, from this line to this line is 2, and from this one here over here is 3. Now there's 3 on each side with a total of 6. The key takeaway from this illustration, though, is these numbers up here. In all cases, when you get a standard deviation and you do one ahead and one behind the average, you'll wind up with 68.2% of the data. That is to say that whatever data is contained in this histogram, 68% of it is between these two lines right here, between the red lines. Now, if we go over to the chart, I'll show you how this works. Now, this is the same data that I put in the magazine, so you can see that the numbers are the same. And what we have here is the average of this collection. If I put my cursor over here in this bar, it'll show you that that's the data that it's collecting. If we go here to standard deviation, STDEV, here again, it's also collecting that data. And then what you do, you take one standard deviation and add it to the average, and then you take the average and you subtract it. And what that gives us is 8.6 on the high end, this line right here, and 4.6 on the low end. Those are the numbers in between the first and second standard deviation. Now, you say, okay, what can you do with that? It'll be very obvious once we get moving and once you look at some of your data, but it's a very good way to set goals. As an example, if this were a time, the number of hours to rebuild a transmission as an example, you have one here where it's rather slow. This is rather quick. I wonder what parts they might have left out or what process they failed on it, but I'm using this just as an example. And it gives you a working goal of 8.6 hours on the high end, 4.6 on the low. That is to say that if you're between those times, you're actually in control of it. Now, those are pretty horrible times. So let's say that we did some work on it and we maintained this range. And this is our new collection of data. This is revised now because we've been paying attention to it, trying to stay within this group. Now you can see the average is 6.4. Look at how small the standard deviation is. It's less than 1. That is much more in control. So it gives us a high point of 7.3 and a low point of 5.5. Now we've got a manageable goal, something that we can actually work with. And you can use anything that you're collecting data for. It could be funds, average RO, not average RO, actual RO. It could be time. It could be anything that you want to track the amount of days that a customer's car on average is in your shop. You can use that. And I'm going to show you on another page how cool this is. And we're going to do this together. So we have average, standard deviation, low, and high. Now, watch this neat little tool. Let me move this out of the way here. If you see this where it says auto sum and you click that, it will highlight this area. Now that's actually the sum. I made a mistake there. Let's go with average. There it is. The average is 5. Now, I'm going to type this in, follow along while I'm doing this, equals STDEV, and notice it has some examples here, some actual commands that you can use. I'm going to have a parenthesis there, and I'm going to highlight this entire range. Close the parenthesis, and there it is. So the standard deviation for that collection of data is a little more than 1. So for the low point, we're going to take equals the average minus the standard deviation. There's our low point. Now look, if I wanted to not have it so large, I can go to format, number, and this is the number of decimal places that I can select, and maybe I'll keep it at 2. And now notice all of a sudden it's rounded that off. The high point, that would be the sum of these two. So we would go equals 5 plus 1.03. So from this collection of data, we have a high of 6.03 and a low of 3.97. And that could be the beginning of some standard that you may have, some goal that you may want to set. Those aren't realistic numbers. I put 10 values of 4 and 10 values of 6 to arrive at this, but I wanted to show you how simple this is to use. Now look at this. I can highlight all of this. Control C is copy. And there we go. Going to format it again to number, 2 decimal points. There we have it. So our low with this collection of data is 4.7 and the high is 5.86. Now, I'm going to expand this some. Notice I had a random number generator here. So I'm going to go, instead of 4 to 6, I'm going to go to 7. Now, here's another little trick, because all of these are still 4 to 6. So I'm going to click on this, 4 to 700, then divide by 100 so that I've got 2 decimal points to the right. If you see this little bitty box right there, right in the corner, notice that my cursor went from a giant plus mark to a smaller one. And I'm going to go right on that little box and double left click. And it took that command and it brought it down the entire list. So now here's a collection of 20 pieces of data. Notice the numbers changed some. 5.23 is the average. The standard deviation is less than 1. Our low is 4.4 and our high is 6.05. Now, this, since it's random, all I got to do is move around a little bit and hit the space bar and it will change it. So you get another idea or a feel for how that works. Let's go a little further. I'm going to go 300 to 700. And I'm going to go find that little box again there, double click, and it's changed all of our data. Now you can use as much data as you like. You can fill this thing up with 100, 200, as long as you are doing the average of everything in here. It doesn't matter if these are blank, it discounts that. And there you have it. This is a fantastic tool. Now, I'm going to stop sharing, work with that. I've been using this for, let's see, I earned my black belt in Six Sigma in 2007. So now that's 17 years now, and I've used this so many times at work for all sorts of goals and analyzing data. It is terrific. So again, if you're using time, using money, any collection of data that you track, if you go through one standard deviation plus and one standard deviation minus, you can zero in on some really good goals. And that concludes this session. Thank you very much and have a great day.